In one of my earlier videos, I had covered the TEXTSPLIT function. This function was released with the Microsoft 365 version. It's a very simple function to use and gives you a lot of flexibility. However, if you're using Excel 2019 or an earlier version, then you'll have to rely on some other functions. In this video, we will look at an example where we'll split text using multiple functions. Let's get started. In the column A, we have a list of names. Some names have only first and last name. Some names have a middle name, whereas others have more than one. We need to extract the last name. This is a complex example as names don't follow a pattern. Usually we split the first name and the last name basis a space, but here the number of middle names vary from 0 to 2. As I always say, text functions are simple. However, since we need to use many of them together to achieve our goal, they appear complex. The best way to reduce complexity is to break down the problem to simple, smaller steps. Let's try this approach in this example. The first thing we need to do is come up with an approach that breaks down this problem into smaller parts. We can achieve a result if we can find the position of last space character. As once we find that, then we know the characters to the right are for the last name. This is true for all names. It will work whether we have or don't have middle names. Let's look at few examples. Amy Smith has no middle name and has only one space character. Anything after the first space is the last name. Max Tony Pilling has one middle name and has two space characters. Anything after the second space is the last name. Penny Mary Joseph Taylor has two middle names and has three space characters. Anything after the third space is the last name. So now that we've confirmed this, we need to find a way to get how many spaces does each name have. We can achieve this using a 4-step approach. Step 1 will be to find the total length of the name, including the spaces in between. Step 2 will be to remove all spaces from the name. Step 3 will be to find the length of the name without spaces. In step 4, we will subtract the length that we got in step 3 from the length we got in step 1. This will give us the total number of spaces, which is same as the instance of the last space. Once we get the instance of the last space, we can then replace the last space with a character such as the @ symbol and find its position. We can use any symbol which we know will not appear in anyone's name, and the @ symbol is one such example. From here on, finding the last name is simple. We will subtract the position of the @ symbol from the total length, and we will get the number of characters in the last name. Now we can apply the right function and get the last name. To make it simple, let me unhide these columns for you and we will use this as a working space. The first step was to find the length. We can do that using the len function. Len, and we will provide the parameter as cell A2, which contains the first name. We get the value as 9. Amy has 3 characters, then we have a space and 5 characters for Smith. If we add 3, 1 and 5, we get 9. Let's copy this to all the other cells. I have explained all the functions that I am using in different videos. I will include the links for those in the description. If you want to watch those too after this video, you'll have the links handy. The next step was to remove the spaces. We will use the substitute function to do that. Substitute. The first parameter is text, for which we will select the cell A2. As we want to remove spaces from the text in this cell. Old text means what is it that we want to replace? We want to replace spaces. So we will provide space in double quotes as the value for this parameter. The next parameter is new text, which means what should we replace the old text with? We want to replace the spaces with nothing or a blank. So we will provide a pair of double quotes with nothing in them. Close the bracket and press enter. We get Amy Smith without the space. Copy the formula and we see the same for all other names. The next step is to find the length of the text without spaces. We will write the formula in cell F2. It's a simple one, len E2. And we get 8 as Amy is 3 characters and Smith is 5 characters. 3 plus 5 is 8. Copy the formula to the rows below. Now we need to find the number of spaces or the instance number of the last space. We can do that by subtracting the value in column F from the value in column D. So we will write D2 minus F2. We get 1, which is correct as we only have one space in Amy Smith. We can copy the formula to other rows. We now need to replace the last instance of space in each name with the @ symbol. We can do that using the substitute formula. The first parameter text is the name. So let's select A2. Old text is space. So we will write space in double quotes. New text is the @ symbol. So we will write @ in double quotes. This time we will use the optional parameter. We don't want to replace all the instances of the space characters. We only need to replace the last one. We've already calculated the last instance in column G, so I will select the cell G2 here. We get the result. Since Amy Smith has only one space in it, the name becomes Amy @ Smith. Copy the formula. Our next step is to find the position of the @ character, which is the same as the position of the last space character. We can write the find function for that. For the find text parameter, I will write @ in double quotes. And for within text, we can select the name in cell H2. A penultimate step is to find the characters in the last name. We can get that by subtracting the contents in column I, which is the position of the @ character, from the total length which we had calculated in the column D. Therefore, D2 minus I2. Now we have the number of characters in the last name. All we need to do is write the right formula to extract the last name. Right, text is the contents in cell A2 and number of characters are present in the cell J2. And we get the last name for Amy Smith. Copy the formula and we get the last name for all. Though we have the result, but we've used a lot of columns. Let's say you don't want to show all these calculations and you only want the result in column B. You can convert all these formulas into one by copying them into each other. I will start by copying the formula in the cell K2 as text and pasting it in the cell B2. Now I'll replace J2 with the value in cell J2. I'll copy the contents of the cell J2 and replace J2 with those. Likewise, I'll replace all the values. Let me do that quickly for you. Let's copy this formula to the other cells. Even if I delete all the columns in the right, the results do not change. So that's it for this video. As you can see, if you were to write this formula in one go, it would have been challenging. But this becomes so much easier when we break it into simple steps. I hope this was useful. Please do support our channel by subscribing to it. Your little act will go a long way in supporting us. You can download the worksheet from the description and practice this to consolidate your learning. Thanks for watching.